But there is a question. The question was not very clear for me, but I understood the essence. Because whether it is starting from Ajna Chakra, because maybe the idea which came from you is brain is modifying everything. All the informations are taken by the brain and then it is operating. It operates in different levels. So this Muladhara is actually the root of that may be Ajna Chakra or the top centers. Certainly it is like that. All these inputs are gathered by the brain and stored in the brain itself, in the form of memory, and then it triggers, and as and when it is required, the memory comes out. And then we are driven by thoughts which are coming from the memory. This is normal for all sciences, whether it is spiritual science or psychology. But in yogic system, actually what we are trying is not, we are not trying to study the behavior pattern of our mind. Mainly in psychology, in the olden times, they were studying the behavior. But in yoga, they are not actually studying the behavior, but they are studying the function of the mind. Mind is the sum total of the function of the brain, and how it is felt by it, and how the program is made. So that is actually the difference between the two studies. One is studying the behavioral patterns and behaviors. But yoga is studying actually the function, how the mind in different stratas are working. As in Patanjali, we have seen comprehension, exaggeration, all functions. And in Kundalini Yoga, who is the master of Kundalini, nobody knows, because it is a science which evolved over centuries of work by so many different masters, taking ingredients from different schools, from Shaktaya tradition, from Shaiva tradition, from Vaishnava tradition. That I will show you from what are the things which came from different traditions. And then it also has come from Sankhya, from yoga, and so all these traditions were involved in creating this synthetic science, religious or spiritual science, not religious, spiritual science of Buddha. So they systematized the studies, starting from how we are influenced by our basic inherent tendencies. The basic inherent tendencies are food, security, and shelter. That they have located, this sensation is located in the base of the body, with two different ideas. One, we are rooted there, so it is our base. Because without food we cannot survive. Without security we get very frustrated. And without shelter we will be in panic. So it's, all organisms are like that, especially human beings are very much influenced by, psychologically influenced by these things, aspects of food security and shelter. So when these aspects are working, things are okay. When it is not working, a lot of things happens in the mind, in expressing so many varied emotions. And when we express our emotions, certainly it will have a response from the society. We cannot simply show our anger to the society and go back home and rest back. It is not possible. Whatever emotions expressed outwardly will have a counter reaction from the society. Certainly there will be a reaction. And that reaction can be acceptable, maybe not acceptable, maybe it triggers fight or it triggers insecurity, everything. So it was very important for the explorers of spirituality to really streamline the whole thing in a systematic way. That is why they consider this as a spiritual science because the study is done on the basis of a scheme. They made the scheme for this. That means the systematic study they have done. And that is one of the aspects of science. But we cannot generalize things. That's why it's not considered as science. We are working on data. Everything is just the same as science is doing. But here we cannot verify. We cannot test or verify because it's very individualistic. Your experience, when you say happiness, I understand happiness. But the happiness which you experience and the happiness which I conceive, we cannot have no measures to test both are the same. That is the reason why this is not considered by science. In psychology, they study the chemical reactions, the changes that happens when emotions are changing. All these things they study. But here, we don't have that too. So we are studying it very subjectively based on the experience of individuals. This cannot be compared. So this cannot be considered as a science. We cannot generalize. But it is no need to generalize because it is for the individual transformation. The end result will be you will be peaceful, other may not be. So you can look, their goal is how a person feels at the end of the day. Whether he feels comfortable, peaceful, joyful, or whether he is very excited, and having anguish, fear, frustration, everything. So in that respect, this cannot be considered as a science, strictly speaking. But nowadays there are studies going on by studying the chemical changes that happens in the body when some practices are done. It is going on. One day it will be also accepted as a science. So, when they say Mooladhara, as I was saying before, Mooladhara is the root, foundation, Chakras. And our root is here. We are born from food, we are looking for food, and if food is not provided, you will be very anxious, very frustrated, very anguished, very troubled, and the fear of death will come because body comes to a food. And if food is not there, we feel that we may die. We may not die in 1 or 2 days, maybe 40, 50 days, we starve and then we die. But the feeling is not like that. You immediately die. If you don't get your lunch, you get into panic. As if you are going to die soon. It is not. But it is like that. So in our psyche, in our mind, a lot of things are happening when these basic aspects are challenged or not provided, and also when it is provided, our attitude, our everything changes. So they have been studying this. Studying means by watching how a person is feeling this. Not from outside, but from the person, by the person itself, himself. He is looking into himself and studying, if I don't get food, what will happen to me? And naturally, you wait and see. When food is not there, what will happen? And then slowly you will understand. In special situations, you understand that you are not anymore calm. You cannot be peaceful. You become very competitive. You become very jealous. You become very possessive. And your food is taken by somebody, you will be aggressively attacking that person, trying to take it back. So all these emotions are aligned with this aspect of food security and shelter. Certainly, it is a divine function. It is not on your anus, it is working. It is between anus and genital they have placed this chakra. So it is an imaginary idea that Mooladhara chakra is there in the base. Actually, as you said, the work is in the brain. But why, how they associated this with the perineum region for men, and for females it is deep in the vagina, in the genital, not in the vagina, in the genital. There is a shift for man and woman in this respect. So this Muladhara, which is a psychic condition, a state, which is responding with that particular part of the body. And you can see this from where this development is coming. I will narrate something that happens in the early childhood. In the early childhood, in the infancy, people are taken care of. You evacuate. Nowadays we have diapers. Before, no diapers. And they put some clothes always to take the waste from the body. And children are not aware of it. So always it is taken care of by somebody. And then it goes on like that for some years. And then maybe after 2 years, the child is nicely dressed and he does something, and that's the time it happens. Evacuation happens. And as evacuation happens for the child, it's a surprise, but there is no problem for the child. But the society which is nearby gets very upset and child gets really shocked. What happened? We don't understand. Up till yesterday there was no problem. Today it became a big problem. That will happen to every child one day. And he gets surprised and he don't understand something, and then they take him and go and wash or something. But at that time when the nearby society is and then the child immediately locked the anus. Suddenly, there's something, that is the only thing that happened in his body. So he immediately arrested and he tightened the anal muscles together with the perineum, and he will not lose this hold. So there is a body part which is responding to this insecurity. And that part which is responding to the insecurity is the perineum part, the base part of the body, which is our very basic insecurities part. This is how they identified this part as corresponding with the base chakra. So because there is a physical response that happens at that point, you immediately hold, you tighten that base. So every time when you get into insecurity, this kind of a hold comes. It don't need to be evacuation. It can be something else where you are exposed to a gunpoint. So it can happen. You are going to Kashmir or somewhere and suddenly somebody comes in. He's not doing, he's holding. He is just going to trigger it and you feel he's gone. And before he really triggers, the person evacuates. He loses control over the perineal area. The anal control is gone. That is it. It is normal. I am remembering a story of a man. And he was a yoga teacher, and he was jailed for something before he became a yoga teacher. And then he was doing some ugly business, and then he was taken by the police. And then they didn't interrogate him. They brought him into, this is the story he narrated to me, in a big hall, fully illuminated, and there was only one table and a chair, nothing else. This man was taken down. And the police officer who took him just took his revolver, and he was so shocked that something is going to do, and he put it on the table. And then he didn't say anything. In this big hall with the chair, the table, and the revolver, he was just looking. It's like a cinema drama. And then after 3 or 4 hours later only he came back And it was very possible what is going to happen, we don't know. Maybe he will be manhandled or he will be shot or something will happen. Nobody will know what will happen there in this area. So he was extremely upset, but he don't know what is going to happen. And then later the officer came. And he came and asked, why didn't you use this revolver which is here and kill yourself? And so he said, I want to leave. I want to leave. So he took the revolver and he put it here. When he said, I want to leave, he took it and he did like this. And he just, he made a sound of triggering and he evacuated it. His sphincter is down, open, and he did. And then he asked the questions and he said everything what he has done. He said it's a method of interrogation. They are doing it. Anyway, it was his experience. He said everything, and there was no need to intimidate him or to do any other further things. Everything he said. And they got all the data and they checked and everything was correct. He was produced to the court and then he was sentenced to imprisonment. So this story, this man told me directly, and so this can happen to us. When you are at gunpoint or you are at some cliff or crevice and something happens, it can happen. Because we are so attached with our bodily pleasures and comforts, and when that is challenged, it will be felt immediately as a challenge to your life. No. Maybe you are not going to be killed, but the feeling is like that I'm going to die now. That's why when you are going through the upper Himalayas in small narrow roads, like pilgrimage, that's why you should go to upper Himalayas for pilgrimage. And maybe 10,000 feet below you see you are at the brim of the road, and then it comes and the U-turn. And when the U-turn is taking, it is not going, so the bus has to go and take halfway and it reverts, and those who are sitting at the last seat, and they look, they see they are in the ditch. I go on pushing the brake. Yeah, when we are going, this happens every time. And in the beginning, when you are looking, you are not seeing the ground, you are only seeing the cliff. Because the driver knows the wheel. He knows where to stop because he is concerned about the wheel, not the body of the bus. In that, there is no way. So, when great fear all of a sudden comes, it can happen because we lose control of that security button which is kept there, which happened in the beginning of our life. That hold is still there. And we all have this hold, and that hold may go sometimes by shock and surprise. And so that is why this part is considered as the seat of the first chakra. The chakra position is perineum. All the functions are happening in the brain, but they locate this part because of the response that particular body part does with insecurity issues. So Muladhara chakra is located in the perineum for this respect, for this fact. And then, as you have, in the morning I have said, there is a middle square. This is the form of the chakra. There is a middle square, and around the square there is a circle, and around the circle on four limbs of the square, four sides of the square, you see a petal. These petals represent individual self, social self, rational self, and emotional self. Which is that we all have all these things. And they can contradict with each other, and all these things are there, and that is being studied by masters. And basically, if you are scared of any reason, and fear becomes a basic trait for a person, it's very hard for the person to get into the love of spirituality. Because spirituality is transforming this body, leaving this body and getting into a different plan. You're not going to leave the body, but you are losing hold of your connection with your body. That's a big work one has to do. Why a person is doing that, why a practitioner is doing that is simply because we have the attachment with the body, bodily pleasures and comforts, and anything that happens to the body will be taken as a challenge to our life. And when we are so sensitive, it is very difficult for us to go deeper than the body. There are more things we need to understand, which are there in your mind, in the deeper areas of your mind. And then, if you are very much attached because of all these things with the body, you will not really go deeper into your inner world. That is why Muladhara is considered as the root, foundation, chakra, where we are attached with body, bodily pleasures and comforts. Thereby, we get into a kind of fear which is called apinides, excessive attachment with body, bodily pleasures and comforts. And the idea of pilgrimage is with this purpose. You are pushing yourself into the unknown, where there are a lot of problems. Then you develop a trust on some masters or gods or something else, and then you go. You will be met with a lot of difficulties towards the end of the life. In olden times, like Shaishamam, Balyam, Kaumaram, then Yavanam, Kaumaram, Yavanam, and Vanaprastha, and then Sannyas. And we are going to look for the truth to understand the truth of nature and you. And so that is a big thing. If a person can do, he can certainly understand everything about himself. And the study starts with the basic attachment with body, bodily pleasures and comforts. And the reason is it generates a fear. And that needs to be mastered, otherwise we cannot go for it. For example, if you are doing some exercises, practice or something, and you do some basic pranayama or strong pranayama or something like that, you sometimes get some special sensations which you cannot identify. And maybe sometimes you may be not breathing at all. Nothing is happening, you are just simply sitting there, you are not breathing. And suddenly you become aware that you are not breathing. You're not dead. You're not dead, you're simply living. But some small switchover happens and you get into panic and you feel that you're going to die. You don't know what to do, then you postpone everything. So there are spiritual experiences which are part of the unknown. And this unknown needs to be revealed before the person, will be revealed before the practitioner. So he has to stand by it, and for that he needs to work with the attachment with the body, bodily pleasures and comforts for further growth. Further expansion of your consciousness. Kundalini means expansion of awareness. So we are starting our program on that. We have seen four petals, and I mentioned. It is with four sounds total. And one is Vam, Sham, Sham, Sam. These are the petular sounds. And masters have designed certain practices of petular sounds how to trigger that base, which is already tight, having some kind of a stress which gone into the system of the person even at the time of infancy. So when you start this kind of work with that, becoming aware of the center of Muladhara, for example, and certainly the memories which are associated with that can start to trigger. We are not really interested in certain memories, but we are very interested in certain memories. Maybe you went somewhere and then there happens some big calamity and some of the nearby people have lost their existence, life. And you never wanted to remember it. Somebody is trying to explain this and then, no, please, stop. No, enough. I cannot. Because it is strong experiences are there in the memory, and the memory starts to get triggered. That is the time we get into some strange sensations of fear. Or maybe if it is a beautiful sensation, a memory, beautiful sensations will come. We cannot choose between the beautiful thing and the ugly stuff or the scary thing. Both are part of the same thing. A part is really strong and ugly or maybe very strange, and another part of that is beautiful, nice and elevating and celebrating. And both are there. So we have no choice to choose. We want to choose only the best part of it, the beautiful thing, but that will be followed by the other one. There's no way. So if that is the story, when we are triggering the memory, anything can come up. Those things which we don't want to see may also pop up. It has to be popped up because unless it is coming to your awareness, you will not be able to understand why this is kept there and what is your attachment with that and how you can get rid of this. That is very important for you to actually take away the hold from the memory. Taking away your hold from the memory is getting rid of the karmas. Because karma's root is there in the memory. I am saying this because from memories thoughts are coming. Thoughts have a positive intention for rectification. So it is looking towards a goal of rectifying it, and for that the only possibility is you need to get the sufficient energy for doing an action to make it happen. On the way it may be a great experience, maybe not. Whatever you do, this is how it is. And maybe if it is a great thing, then you enjoy and you celebrate. And if it is beautiful, like a celebration happens, then the tendency will come to the person to repeat it and get into the enjoyment like that. But on the other hand, if it is a scary thing, you don't want it to repeat and you want to suppress it and you put it down, deep in the memory, and you never wanted to take it out. Suppress it. These are the suppressed things. These suppressed things are really working as devils for our life. Because this is what is coming as nightmares. And somebody triggers some old stuff and pointing out that, I know. Forget what he knows. Maybe something. All the secrets you go and well, what he knows. Your peace of mind is gone. A simple dialogue can take away your peace of mind. You don't know what the person knows, and until and unless you understand, you start to set your defense. And the defense probably maybe he's a little crazy. He's a little crazy, don't listen to him. And you give a publicity that the other one is crazy, so that crazy man, whatever he says, will not be taken by people. This is cunning plan. So mind is working like that because to ensure your position and security, and human mind, it is not our problem. Human mind is devised in this way. And it will only work in this way, beautiful and bad ways. It will work. But how to get rid of it? You cannot get rid of it. You can understand what it does. If you really understand what the mind is doing, you get a command over the mind. And you become the master of the mind, then you say stop. He stops. He is like an innocent poocha. You look at the poocha's eye, the cat's eye, and he look strongly, look at you, and you look, he sleeps. Exactly like this, the mind is here. If you really observe, the mind is gone. If you don't observe, he will be the king. So that is why we observe to understand what is he doing. So when you observe, you see a lot of things. So you see all the different personalities of you in your base, and then you see there is a square, a yellow square. This is a picture, I will put it later. There is a yellow square. This represents the earth element. This square represents earth. It represents earth element. The nature of earth element is stubbornness. Earth is a stubborn existence because it's very close, like a rock. When a person is motivated by the aspects of the base chakra, he behaves like a rock. He is not ready to open. He is always closed. He is looking for his security, his food, his shelter. Maybe food and security for those who are nearby or those whom you know. Otherwise, you are a close. We are a close, not you. We all, humans, are very close. And we are trying to open this box. This is a very closed box. It's a stubborn base. We are very rocky and we are looking for our welfare, our comfort and our pleasure and our survival and our evolution or our pleasure. Maybe one or two people may be around that. All the rest are excluded. That is the self-centered nature of the base chakra. It is the normal plan of the base chakra. We are all like that, otherwise survival may be difficult. If you don't take care of your body by providing food, hunting food and giving food to your body will collapse. So naturally the mind has put this kind of tendency in the base of your existence, in your mind, to take care of yourself. So, but it doesn't mean that you have to take care of yourself to the entire exclusion of the rest of existence. There is a problem. But unknowingly, we get into the extension of this, which is excluding everybody, and I and my family, maybe not even family, myself. So this is the stubborn nature, and that stubborn nature is represented by the square, which represents the earth element. So in Kundalini Yoga, the master says that the earth element is the base of Mooladhara. Stubborn, closed, like a box, square box, no flexible at all. Anything that challenges a person's existence, he will be very stubborn, he will reject everything, he can be a fighter, and he can annihilate the rest of the things, and he can survive. And that is the nature of the base chakra, which is very essential actually. It is not bad. Without that, the person will not be there. In the normal plan, he cannot. But he is trying, because of all the sufferings that comes with that attitude, he was really trying to understand what is the cause of my suffering. Why I am suffering like this? And at the base, when he looks, he understands that there are a lot of things which is making me suffering. Because if you are an open person, the whole world will come closer to you. It is not an open person who is not a person, he is pretending that he is open, If a person is pretending that he is open, the whole world knows that he is not open. We cannot befool anybody. It is very explicit. Maybe one or two people believe for some little time that, oh, he was a very open person. But maybe soon, within 3 weeks' time, it will be shown whether the person is open or just a pretentious person. And then what is the problem in pretending? Then later when you are in public, like pretending a great guy, and this information comes there. And when this information comes, you get very puzzled because it is going to public. But the image which you have shown and projected to the society is like a Santhi Prasad. If you are not that Prasad, certainly, and if you are pretending, certainly it will turn back and hurt you. Fear, anxiety, frustration, you cannot sleep. Everything, your root will be challenged like anything. So what is the way? You understood this is the problem. So I have to leave all kinds of pretentious activity. I have to open myself. And I don't need to be stubborn. I have to open myself and I behave what I feel, exactly the way I feel. And then there is a possibility of actually living without big pretext and big shame out of that kind of living. And this is done by a person only when he understands that these are a trouble. These are troublesome. All right. And for that you need to study. Here the study is not reading books, but looking into yourself and understanding how I am as a person, who I am as a person. So that is why this study is so important when we are healthy and when we are okay with the normal things of life. You have time, you have to study and get over the trouble so that you will feel better. And for that, the person needs to have an absolute alertness to see what is going on all the time. We have seen it's suffering because we have seen there are problems which are there in me which is really creating troubles for me, and then I have to get out of this. If I am not getting out, what will be my condition? Nobody likes me and then. I can be like a self-centered person, but nobody needs to know. So far nobody knows, I am okay. When somebody says, then everything is like a volcanic eruption. Finished. So these kind of things which are moving on inside our mind needs to be understood for getting out of it. And everybody wants enlightenment. Freedom. With all these things, how can we make it? We will not be succeeding. So that's why it is so important to study. So that is a tool which the masters have made, and this tool Kundalini is a tool. Not only Kundalini, there are so many other tools. You can take whatever tool you like and you work on it so that you will get out. You don't need to go into Kundalini. There are many possibilities. But as we are studying Kundalini, we are looking through that and then trying to find what are the questions and what are the hindrances and possibilities. This is very important. Otherwise, we will simply live a pretentious life. And that is the question on my class. Should I do that or should I change? And if I wanted to change, I can change. And nobody will actually do anything. You can change. And so there are a lot of great systems here in India. Don't worry. Come. Sit. And there is a deity, Ganesh. You look, Offer everything. He will bless you. We don't know what to do. Go there. And so, shall I go with open hand, with nothing in my hand? No. Take coconut. You take coconut. You go there. How many coconut? 101. You're going with 101 coconut. You cannot even start 101. So there are people who are starting coconut. They are bang. 101 coconut. All the coconuts are there. You take a piece of this, you got the offering, and you go peaceful. Oh, now it's incredible, Ganesh. Until the next thing pops up, Ganesh works. The next one will come. And then what to do? 100 coconut is not enough. Then you asked, I was going to say 501. But I thought that may be enough. So bring the rest. And he has taken the contract for that. You can do that. And temporary relief is there. There are temporary reliefs. This is what we do because we don't have time. And we don't have time to look after us. We have time for looking after everybody, all the places I can wash. Simulan